Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always told, out of Voice Radio. So today, we're going to be looking at the new Kartana card coming out in Sun and Moon 7, what is going to be our Celestial Storm set. The wife is currently feeding the new child. Wife and new child need a little bit of space, a little bit of time to themselves while they're feeding, and I thought, you know what? I should go record some audio so that I can edit it when the kid is sleeping. It's a nice thought. We'll see how it works. What I do like, and what I think will work, is Kartana. Now, first of all, Kartana is a metal Pokemon. Metal is good. At the moment, there's a whole bunch of good stuff about metal. We've got Dalmise, that means you can do a little bit of extra damage. I mean, in theory, we've got Magnezone to accelerate energy here. And in theory, we've got Galileo Prism Star to accelerate energy, although I don't think either of them is going to be terribly relevant. But we do have Metal Frying Pan nowadays. When attached to a metal Pokemon, it means they have no weakness and takes 30 less from attacks. As far as I'm concerned, a very useful tool indeed. But we need to actually have a look at Kartana more than that, and the first thing we look at, it's got 60 HP. 60 HP is appalling. If we were in a world where Level Ball was still in the format, we might be going, hey, but we're not. So we're not. 60 HP is terrible. Now, the one good thing I can say about this is that it is actually weak to fire, and Baby Volcanion, hey Nick, will do 20, which doubled in weakness will do 40, and not actually get a KO here. If Volcanion did 30, like stuff like Registeel does, then yes, absolutely, this would be an issue, but it doesn't. It actually survives the hit. Now, to be fair, fighting Fury Bout means it will get a one-hit KO, and your opponent could even use Volcanion EX's Steam Up to go and do 100 and get a KO. But 60 HP is very low, okay? Let's just get that out of the way. But it should actually avoid a KO from a Volcanion, which is the main thing you'd be looking to avoid a KO from anyway. Being metal type does mean you have resistance to Psychic, so something like an Espeon GX would be doing 10 damage plus confusion. And I mean, technically you've got resistance to Garbodor, but it means you need to play 4 items to be KO'd rather than 3. Let's be clear, it's not going to make a huge difference. And of course, it does have a retreat cost of 1, which is very nice, because it's low. I'd prefer it if it was 0, but you can't have it all. But there is one attack on Kartana here, and to be perfectly blunt, it is the reason we're playing Kartana, and it is absolutely brilliant. I am adoring this. I am in love with this. Our translation does come from the lovely RappelmannTCG, Mr. David Hochmann himself. For 2 energy, you do 40 damage. That's not good. But if your opponent has exactly 6 remaining prize cards, this attack does 90 more. Now, maybe you use Xurkitree's GX attack to put a 7 prize down, and then they take 1 to go to 6. But generally speaking, this is going to be before your opponent has taken a prize. If your opponent hasn't taken a prize, you get to do 130 damage on a basic Pokemon for 2 energy from your first turn. And really, Kartana here is donking. Now, one of my many missions within the Pokemon trading card game is to get the word donk to go back to meaning winning on your first turn of the game. You have a turn, you take a KO, you win. Not just when your opponent only has 1 Pokemon out and you KO it on turn 4. That is a benching, ladies and gentlemen. Donking is when you KO them on your first turn and they've got nothing else. We don't have many Pokemon that can do it. Now, interestingly enough, Rayquaza GX, that we just talked about the other day, has a legitimate chance to do this. I'll pop a link to that video in the description. Go and check it out for more details. But Kartana can do it as well. 130 for 2 energy is brilliant. Now, of course, if I'm sitting here going, you need to have 2 energy on here, you can donk on the first turn of the game, then presumably I must have some energy acceleration in mind, and I absolutely do. It's Max Elixir. I think Max Elixir is brilliant energy acceleration onto basic Pokemon. I've been playing it in metal decks such as Duskmane Necrozma, and it works. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not going to work in every game. There are going to be plenty of games where you get down to 10 cards left in your deck and you've not hit any max Elixir. In a game the other day in a tournament, got down to 7 cards remaining, 3 of them were max Elixir. Little bit silly. But you're playing 4 copies of it, so you've got, and this is a little bit rough, so don't hate me in the comments, but you've got somewhere in the region of a 50% chance of hitting a max Elixir on turn 1. And then, of course, if you play something like a Professor Sycamore to draw an extra 7 cards, then you actually turn out to have an over 50% chance of getting a max Elixir in your hand turn 1. Now again, that doesn't guarantee you're going to hit the max Elixir, but if you're playing the Turbo Metals deck I was playing in tournaments the other day, I did quite well, I did a video, I'll pop a link to that in the description as well, then you're playing 15 basic energy, and if you're playing 15 basic energy, there is an excellent chance that you will, in fact, hit this when you draw it. So okay, it's not going to happen every game, but there are going to be plenty of games where you hit the max Elixir on turn 1, and you actually get Kartana rolling. Now there is one other awkward thing in terms of getting this going, and that is that you need to get Kartana into the active, in which case, Floatstone. You basically need to be playing 4 Floatstone, but having said that, like I say, I'm going back to Turbo Metals because honestly, if I could, I would put one of these Kartana into my Turbo Metals deck tomorrow. You need to get the turn 1 Floatstone, you need to get the turn 1 Max Elixir. Well, I was playing Galileo Prism Star, and my strategy in Turbo Metals was very heavily reliant on getting multiple energy in the discard and getting Galileo Prism Star into the active turn 1. Quite frankly, it worked more often than it failed. And this is the thing that I cannot stress enough. This can win you the game. Now, there's 2 ways it can win you the game. Number 1, the obvious, your opponent has 1 Pokemon out, they pass to you, you use Kartana, KO, get the win. Option number 2, they've got a bunch of Pokemon out, but they never get anything attacking. We've all been in those games. The thing is, if you're in one of those games against Kartana, Kartana is doing 130 for 2 energy until your opponent takes a prize. So you are constantly taking a prize every single turn, and then eventually, hopefully, your opponent is going to be able to get a KO. And maybe they do, but maybe you've taken 2 or 3 prizes. This puts immense pressure on in the early game. And in a deck like Turbo Metals, which is called Turbo but really isn't that fast, which is relying on Galileo Prism Star, yes, absolutely yes. This could be a great early game addition, and you won't always want to use it, and you won't always hit it. But this will win you games in tournaments, and it's a 1-card tech. Now, as a quick side note, when we're talking about accelerating energy, counter energy won't work here, unless you go for some like circuitry shenanigans or something, because you cannot be behind on prizes, and your opponent still be on 6, unless you've got something like circuitry shenanigans. And 130 here is absolutely the number that you want to hit. There's a whole bunch of Pokemon out there, like Volcanion, that have 130 HP. Or like Registeel. This is going to give you that turn 1 KO. And yeah, you're right. You're not always going to want to use Kartana. There's still going to be plenty of games where you want that turn 1 Galileo Prism Star. And yeah, even when you want it, there's going to be plenty of games where you don't hit it. But as you play through a tournament, there's going to be 1 or 2 games, maybe a few more, where your opponent either only has 1 Pokemon in the active, and you go second, or they've got no good attacker set up, and you either win the game or take a 2 or 3 prize lead before your opponent knocks out a 60 HP Kartana. I really like this. I'm giving it between 3 and 4 Wassies. As a side note, after rotation, when we lose Max Elixir and Floatstone, this becomes an awful lot less viable. You can still get it working with something like Galileo Prism Star or Magnezone, but you then have to rely on your opponent not taking a prize while you set up and get the energy on there. That's not terribly realistic. But in that short window between it being released in Celestial Storm in August and the rotation in September, we are actually going to have a Pokemon that can get going on your first turn going second and hit for 130 until your opponent takes a prize. Donking is back. This is a really good Pokemon and I love it. But as with all of these things, I would love to know what you think about this new Kartana. So let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, but be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv patreon.com/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and so on, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do just that. And do check out my video game/Dragon Ball Super channel, Wassy Plays, for some more Wassy action. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.